Cell phones, receipts.
That's a kid?
Yeah, that's a stolen car. That would be 2 stolen cars right there.
You know, now that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has officially accepted the VP nomination, there's a lot of people talking about what happened in Minneapolis during the Black Lives Matter riots, what Walz allowed to happen, but I think this kind of misses the point. It's about what's happening in Minneapolis, what's happening in the Twin Cities, what's happening all over this country post the Black Lives Matter riots, post George Floyd, the George Floyd effect. And what I open with right there is a video that is perfectly indicative of what I'm talking about. Here you have the police maybe conducting an interview or doing a stop. I'm not exactly sure. Cameras are rolling. And while they're doing this, and by the way, even though they're not in full uniform, you can see the vest and it says police on them, 2 stolen cars loaded up with kids, we're talking about the Kia boys, the Hyundai boys, whatever you want to call them, speed past them in broad daylight like it's perfectly normal. And the way that the Minnesota police tell this woman what's actually happening is so casual, and the reason for that is because this has become normalized in that particular city. Criminality is absolutely out of control, and when people talk about criminal justice reforms going soft on youthful offenders, this is the result, and we've highlighted it time and time again. But it's important to go back to Minneapolis, go back to the Twin Cities, go back to the state of Minnesota, the origin point of this cancer that spread across our nation during 2020, and look at what it has wrought. Look at what the George Floyd effect actually is. It's that brazen. It's that common. It's that ordinary now. Now we're going to get into this, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Stunning new video of brazen kids in stolen cars speeding right past police.
Officers say they are dealing with that every day in cities across the metro. The troubling trend took a tragic turn when 4 kids were shot this weekend. So, how can we pump the brakes on these dangerous drives?
Look, the answer on how to stop these dangerous drives is not a complicated question. You don't need to convene a panel of experts. You just need to think about when these things were not happening and realize that if you change the laws back to those laws, that will end up resetting us where we are. Now, obviously, there are issues in terms of recruitment. The Minneapolis PD has been absolutely devastated post the Black Lives Matter riots, and another incident that followed the Black Lives Matter riots with that female cop who inadvertently shot somebody when she thought she was reaching for her taser, and the effects of the devastated recruitment in Minneapolis Police Department and other police departments in and around the area are going to take a little bit more to undo than just changing the laws back.
Our Uba Ali sat down with a half-dozen police chiefs and hit the streets for a story you will see only on WCCO.
But step one, the first thing that you should do is think back to a time where this didn't occur and try to make your laws as similar as possible to then. Now, obviously, there are issues with the Kia problem. We all understand that TikTok challenge where they showed that you can start a Kia with the back of a USB cord is a disaster. But the fact of the matter is, you need to enforce the law against these people, show that there's consequences, because Kias have been all over the world, and guess what? The only place where they're being stolen super frequently is in the United States of America, in specific neighborhoods, and these people aren't even hiding their crimes. When the Kia boys are famous because of the videos that they themselves post on social media, and you're still not able to engage them, the problem is you. The problem is the system. The problem is policing. When you steal cars over and over and over again, drive like maniacs, and you get a slap on the wrist repeatedly, the problem is the law enforcement system. This is not hard.
In this room,
we need answers and we need help.
There's one troubling trend top of mind.
They're getting younger and younger, and they're armed, and they're committing more violent crime.
Children stealing cars with apparently no fear of the consequences. This dash cam video in Edina shows kids in stolen cars speeding at high rates, ultimately forcing officers to back off.
I want you guys to really think about what you just heard right there. This is dash cam video from the Edina Police Department. They approach 2 stolen cars. The 2 stolen cars flee from the cops. They jump the curb, and they end up taking off. But because they were driving so fast and so insanely in this particular scenario, the police were, according to the reporter, forced to back off this situation. They were forced to pull back. So if you want to know why kids are stealing cars, and then when even the police see them, they drive crazy and they speed, it's because the policies in this area, in this state, incentivize them to do so. You can pull over and actually submit to capture, maybe get arrested, get a slap on the wrist, maybe spend 45 minutes in jail, not have as much fun, or you could drive like a maniac, speed up like crazy, put everybody else in danger, and be rewarded for that. Are we surprised that this is what is going on? And by the way, these criminals are 100% aware of this. We heard this from the Tommy G Kia Boys documentary that came out years ago, that the reason why, or one of the reasons why they drive like maniacs, is because the police have to terminate the pursuit.
Have you ever gotten into a police chase before?
They can't chase, cause they can, but like after you doing so much danger, they gotta terminate it.
It's not just a one-off. It's not just a stupid-ass policy that's in Milwaukee that led to devastating results that should be changed. This is a policy that is replicated in multiple different places, and we keep seeing, as a result of that policy, more and more car thefts, more and more people driving like crazy. This is called an incentive. These people are responding to that incentive. How about this as an idea? You get pulled over by the cops when you have a stolen car, you surrender, you get a lower sentence than the person who doesn't pull over, who drives like a maniac and puts more and more people in danger. How about we have that, and maybe we will lean towards law-abiding rather than lawlessness.
We have a stolen northbound in Bloomington.
Deputies like Mike Vine with the auto theft team are assigned to prevent car thefts and recover stolen cars like this one.
So we want to catch the bad guys, but we also want to get this car back.
While processing this red Hyundai,
Sometimes they leave cell phones, receipts.
that's a kid.
Yeah, that's a stolen car.
Kids speeding past the deputies assigned to stopping this very act. In this case, Sergeant Vi could not follow for her safety.
Look, I'm not somebody who says, look at this 10 seconds of video and that proves everything I've been saying is true. But if there was ever 10 seconds of video that proved my point, it is right there. These are the people assigned to prevent car thefts from occurring. These are the deputies specifically aimed at that task. And what are they actually doing? They're recovering a vehicle that was thankfully abandoned by the car thieves that doesn't look all that messed up superficially. But while they're doing that, while they're processing that vehicle, 2 other stolen cars blitz past them, putting people in danger. Maybe could hit a child that's walking, a regular person that's walking, smash into each other, kill the people in the car, kill people outside the car, and the police do nothing. And in fact, the sergeant says she can't pursue them because of safety.
In this case, Sergeant Vi could not follow for her safety.
We're not going to chase a car just to chase a car. We're going to set up on it. We're going to coordinate. We're going to try and stop it when it's safest for us, safest for the community, and safest for the people involved.
That means coordination with special teams on the ground and in the air.
Now look, obviously I am not advocating for the police to engage in something that increases the level of danger rather than decreases the level of danger. But the fact of the matter is, letting these kids drive like maniacs, as we saw on the video, is unsafe behavior. So they could talk about how, oh, we wouldn't want our chase to lead to an accident, but you're seeing these people drive insanely, and that leads to a ton of accidents. They just talked about how 4 kids in a stolen car ended up getting shot because they were fighting presumably with another gang of people in another stolen car. If that passed by law enforcement and they said, hey, you know what, it would be too dangerous for us to engage in that, and then that ended up being the result, then your pledge to safety led to 4 people being shot. Not to mention, if they were moving when they were shot, they could have driven off and hit somebody else, injured themselves, destroyed the car, all these different negative consequences that occur from this emphasis on safety. And by the way, I'm not saying that this calculation statistically didn't make sense with present data, that there were more accidents when police engaged in pursuits than otherwise. But the fact of the matter is, when you change a policy, that creates new incentives, and humans respond to incentives and change their behavior. So while it might have been statistically true that police chases were X amount of dangerous, and that seemed like more danger than was required when they were actually engaging in them, not engaging in them and terminating chases when drivers act insane behind the wheel has led to this result, has led us to this point in time where stolen cars, crazy driving are off the charts in your city. So your policy change in order to enhance safety did the exact opposite, and I'm waiting for you guys, all 12 of you in this room having this meeting, to realize that.
If we as adults are not giving them any consequences, we're part of the problem too, but actually the system as a whole.
So I got to give credit to the sheriff right here. She is 100% right, dead on accurate. When there's no consequences, that is a failure on us and on the system. And they also talk about this problem where they don't really have a good place to take some of these kids, so they end up getting released. And obviously they try to bring them home to their parents, or in many cases parent, because a lot of these people come from single mother households, and there's no consequences for that. And if the parent were capable of actually managing their kid wouldn't be behind the wheel of a stolen car 200 plus times.
Sheriff Witt says there's confusion when children are arrested on where to take them.
The lack of facilities. We don't have anywhere to take them.
And there are a lot of them. In Hennepin County so far this year, there have been 475 cases of vehicle theft, more than half, 247 committed by juveniles. And look at the numbers last year, 566 juvenile car theft cases, the most ever recorded in the county.
Having a secured facility, triaging the kids from there, but that's outside of our scope of business, and that's why we say the plea again, we need our partners to step up.
Now that's absolutely crazy right there. Over half of these thefts are committed by juveniles, and then they show you the numbers from the year before, and you see, oh wow, that's a lot of improvement, until you realize that the improvement that we're seeing is a drop-off from the record high numbers in the county. So what we saw was an insane spike in auto thefts, then a drop, and a bunch of people looking at the numbers from the outside, looking at the percentage change, are going to say, wow, what a great job. Now, I also want to point out that those are the complete numbers for 2023 versus the incomplete numbers for this year, but you could see they're probably on track to do better than last year, but last year is the worst of all time in Hennepin County. Again, years after George Floyd, years after the Black Lives Matter riots, they hit their peak in 2023. So when you talk about a decrease and how crime get better, remember that report with all the cities about how crime got better, understand that a lot of them are right after a dramatic increase that happened not in 2020, but last year in 2023. This is the same thing we went over with the DC numbers, which was one of the biggest, most dramatic drops in that chart. Everybody citing, including the Biden-Harris campaign, to say crime is down. They had basically records the year before in certain categories, records in the last 20 years in other categories, then a drop-off from that record pace.
Do you have an idea of how often this is actually happening? We saw numbers, but how often is it happening?
Well, just to put it in context for you, this happened as deputies were processing another stolen vehicle that was dumped. Though that particular scenario doesn't happen every day, just in the 3 hours we were with them, teams were aware of several stolen cars and recovered 2 that were dumped.
The reporter asks, I know we saw the numbers, but can you tell us how often this is happening? The answer to that question is more than once a day. Almost twice a day, and for juveniles, at least once a day. And she said this was a unique situation because they were processing the dump car, they were aware of other stolen cars that were occurring, and while that was happening, the 2 cars blitzed by them. So yeah, it's frequent, it is common, obviously more instances in the summer, but yeah, it's a huge problem.
So from chiefs to boots on the ground, I think it's safe to say they believe a collaborative effort is the key to really unlocking this issue. And we've been reporting, Frank and Amelia, that there's been some rift between the Hennepin County Attorney's Office and Police Chief Brian O'Hara. They're simply just not seeing eye to eye.
So yeah, they talk about a collaborative effort in order to unlock this issue. That's the key. And honestly, I'm so sick of the flowery language. I'm so sick of the progressive doublespeak. The key to this is to take back the policy changes that were instituted post the Black Lives Matter riots. The police have to chase these people. And you know what? If some of the criminals that stole the cars get hurt, that would be a lesson for the other criminals that you're not going to get away. One of the things I remember in my childhood, not that I was going to grow up and steal cars, was watching police chases. And you know what was the common thing in police chases? So much so that a lot of times reporters will say it. The person doesn't get away. Once the helicopter's above them, it is over. Once all the cops line up in order to block them off, they're going to get arrested and they might as well surrender. they've taken away that rule. They've taken away that obvious truth, and then they wonder why car thefts are off the charts and crazy driving is off the charts. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you like the video, you show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the absolute madness in Minnesota. Till next time.